All right, everyone. We have a very special episode of Group Chat that's releasing today. We have Ian Rogers, the Chief Experience Officer of Ledger. He's in town from Paris, was able to stop by the office today. And I was like, you got to stop by right now. We got to have you on. So the guys are kind of out of the office today, but Ian and I sat down and had an incredible conversation. One about just living in LA and the mentality of people in LA versus a lot of the rest of the world. And then more importantly, we get deep into crypto, community, NFTs, and just the way you should be thinking about it when you're kind of going out throughout your day and throughout your life. It's an important episode. Highly recommend you listen to the end because with Ian, there's always a lot to learn. And thanks to our people at Ledger. Check out ledger.com and make sure you have your cold storage wallets. That's where we're all storing our crypto, our NFTs in a safe and secure way. All right, let's get into it.
Cash.
Ladies and gentlemen, Group Chat.
Cash.
It's $1 trillion. Hot.
All right, everyone, we have a very special interview. Usually you're live from Paris, but you are in Los Angeles. We have Ian Rogers from Ledger. And what brings you to LA?
Some work, but also my daughter is here.
Yeah.
So I come here as much as I can.
Yeah. And you lived here for a long time. So
I was here for 21 years. I moved here in 1995. When I came here, the only people I knew in LA were the Beastie Boys.
Good people to know.
It was a good way to get to learn my way around LA.
Light flex. I think it's interesting. We were just walking down the street and you made a comment that I thought was so interesting. You said, the great thing about LA is that everything is possible. And the tough thing about France is that everything is impossible. And the right place to be is somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean so that you understand, both sides of it. What do you mean by everything is possible in LA?
Specifically, I had this realization. I'd been living in France for like 3 years, and I was here in LA, and I was sitting at Deus in Venice. Mm-hmm. And I was, you're sitting at the table and there's some other people sitting at the table and there's these two dudes. It's 10 a.m., right? They got nowhere to be. They're clearly not in an office. And I'll never forget their conversation was about, and I'm just like typing on my laptop, but eavesdropping. And their conversation was about surfing, where to rent a helicopter, the cannabis business they were starting, the show they were selling to Netflix. And I'm like, this is so LA,
Yeah.
And after living in France for a while, I appreciate how LA it is.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
3 years earlier, I might've been like, oh, it's just another day at Deus. But for me, I was like realizing how LA it is. But then the last thing I'll never forget, because I started Googling then, they were talking about buying a tuk-tuk on Alibaba and starting a food truck.
Oh my God.
And I was like, wait, you can buy a tuk-tuk on Alibaba? And I'm like, I might want one of those. But that was where I had the realization. I was like, LA is annoying and I wanted to get out of here.
Yeah.
Because everything is possible.
Yeah.
It's possible in a way that
Do you agree that's not possible? And is it because I always have felt the same way. Is it because like LA people aren't smart enough to know that it feels challenging? Or is it that we just live in a different planet and we just think we can do anything?
No, it's why we're here.
Yeah.
Tim, where are you from?
I'm from Rhode Island.
Okay. And where are you from?
Orange County.
Orange County. Okay. But what I always think is like, we're all, like, I'm from Indiana, but I'm the only person in my high school class that ended up in California. Right. And whenever I'm in, when I moved to Paris, I would do these, I would be on a panel or speaking at the Franco-American Chamber of Commerce, which is a true story. And they're always like, what's it like to be the guy who came from Apple to LVMH, from California to Paris, from America to Europe? And I'm like, I did my 23andMe. You know what it told me?
What?
I'm European. Who's American?
Yeah.
Right. Like none of us.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you kind of classify Americans as the people who left and the people who came here from somewhere else. Like my daughter actually just brought a book home from school that's about like the 11 tribes of America that settled America.
Mm-hmm.
New York was New Amsterdam, et cetera. I don't remember them all. But it's true. And what I really feel is that Americans are the crazy people who like had somewhere to be. There was a gold rush, or they were running from something, or they were dropping out of some culture. And the Europeans are the one who are like, where are you going?
Yeah.
You know what I'm gonna do tomorrow? Same thing I did yesterday.
Yeah.
Which is also like, it plays into why, like, if a European's sick, they might be like, it'll go away. Where an American is like, I gotta get the best doctor on the planet.
Yeah.
Like, what's the latest science?
Yes. I gotta figure it out.
And it's the same thing if you look at education. Education there is still from the industrial age, generally speaking, right? It's kind of the sit down, shut up type of education. Where if you look at like progressive education in LA, it's like if there was a study yesterday that said that kids should have warm towels on their desk, like there's going to be warm towels tomorrow, right? Because we got to do the best thing for our kids.
Yeah.
And I think it's just like, and I think it's just, there's a great book called The Gene. It's the same guy who wrote The Emperor of All Maladies. Okay. And I feel like we talked about this on the show actually, when I was like back last Thanksgiving. But he said, there is a gene that is predictive for irrational behavior. And the further you get away from the cradle of civilization, the more prevalent that gene is.
Wow.
And it's just that. Like, I think we're just those people. Whereas if you're at a coffee shop in Paris, everything is like, c'est impossible. Like, no. You couldn't possibly do that. You couldn't possibly. And then like, if you push and push and push, you find a way. But it's the opposite, where here you start from like world of possibility. And by the way, I love that, because I even thought when I was younger and I lived here, and I would even going to San Francisco or New York, I felt like where you went to college was like more of a conversation. Whereas I felt like in LA, we'd all been through that experience of like knowing somebody who was a fucking loser and then they're a superstar.
Yeah.
And once you've like experienced that, then you can't judge somebody based on where they went to college.
Nobody asks in LA where you go to college.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember being with Johnny Knoxville one night when he was like the dude from, I don't even think he was the dude from Jackass. I think he was the dude from Big Brother.
Yeah.
And I think he got stabbed, and we were kind of a mess. And I mean, he's a movie star now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we all know that character in our lives in LA. And therefore, man, it doesn't matter where you went to college. What matters is like, what do you do? Do you have drive? Do you have ideas? Do you have, charisma? Whatever it is, like, to me, that's LA. I really like it. Also, then you end up with like a bunch of douchebags that are gonna do something that never do.
Yeah.
But I mean,
that's the trade-off.
That's the trade-off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to that, like when I think about like your career, I was just thinking about it today. Like, I feel like you're always been one step ahead. Like, in the 90s, you were at Winamp, which, basically let the groundwork for the music business that is today, which is MP3s, then now streaming. And then you went on, you obviously had a stint at Yahoo Music, right? And then you went to Beats, and that was a streaming, which was like at that time kind of futuristic. Like, people were probably still downloading MP3s, but not probably not streaming.
In a way, some ways, Beats Music felt a little late because people were like, well, we got Spotify. Why do we need Beats Music?
Yeah. And so, but still in terms of, it was still early days of even the streaming.
Yeah, even Spotify, it was early days.
Early days. And then you go to LVMH and they experience, I'm sure, some of the craziest growth over the last like decade. That
I got lucky, man. I mean, just look at the LVMH stock price during the 5 years I was there, and I looked like a genius. I don't think it was me.
And then now you're in crypto and that entire universe, which is clearly kind of showing us where the future is going. And I was trying to think, do you think it's your computer science engineering background that always gave you this understanding of where the future was going? Or was that something else that innately in you that understood that?
I think it's skateboarding.
Wow.
I think it's like, when you're comfortable being on the outside, then you're trying to look at things for what they are, but I also think, look, there's a ton of luck. What was it that I just listened to that podcast with Chris Sacca, and he keeps saying, I'm lucky, but it's not an accident. I like that line. That I feel that because I'm lucky, but it's not a total accident, right? Like, life is, 2% what happens to you and 98% what you do with it. And for me, there's so much that's circumstantial, right? I had a stepdad who brought computers into the house, and I'm a certain age. So I started a computer science degree in 1990 because I'd had that background in computers when I was a kid. And I got this work study job that had me like building streaming music applications in the early 90s. So part of it is just like, you sort of put one foot in front of the other and you end up there. But also I really do think that, when you grew up with skateboarding and punk rock, I grew up outside of mainstream culture. So what was on the radio didn't appeal to me. What was at the magazine rack didn't appeal to me. And so you like kind of, and I think the interesting is the world looks a lot more like that today than like if what you were used to was kind of broadcast television, then the world looks like upside down. But if you were into skateboarding and punk rock in the 80s, then the world just looks like, oh wow, they came to us. Yeah. I mean, it's so crazy. During the time I was at LVMH, they hired Virgil Abloh. Virgil Abloh is a skateboarder and a DJ from Rockford, Illinois. He was like a 5-hour drive from where I grew up. And we both grew up fans of the Beastie Boys, They hire Matthew Williams, who's a skateboarder from Pismo Beach. It's like, they just hired Nigo at Kenzo. It's like, I know Nigo from Beastie Boys 1994, 95, and so it's like the world has kind of come, if you're a skateboarder, the world has come your direction. Yeah. But I would argue that's always been the case. Like Drama knows this. Like we got made fun of in 6th grade for wearing Bermuda shorts. Yep. And like 3 years later, all the jocks were wearing Bermuda shorts. Yeah. Like that history repeated itself.
In fashion, 100%. It's always been that the leading indicator.
Rave pants were skate pants before they were rave pants. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I mean, look at luxury. Luxury is just expensive skateboarding clothes today.
Yeah. And I mean, the Supreme Vuitton collab for me felt like the end of the line. For me, that felt like skateboarding in the Olympics. Yeah. You know what I mean? When I see skateboarding in the Olympics, I'm like, time to find a new sport. I'm glad I was a skater when I was. Yeah. It's over. Yeah. But there's something to it. And I think it's bigger than skateboarding. I say that kind of facetiously, but I think it is something about like
the mindset.
When you've just never existed in the mainstream, then like what everyone else is doing is totally irrelevant. Yeah. Like I don't care what everyone else is doing. I actually think it's a real, it's a genuine benefit that Seth Godin says, like you should find yourself a nickel every time you use the word everyone, because there's no such thing. So when you say everyone does that or no one does that, you're wrong by definition. Yeah. And I actually think it's even bigger than that. And this is like the big I think it's a scary thought, but the realization I've had that like understanding crypto has driven me to, which is, we've been saying for years that, and actually Jeff Jarvis, who wrote What Would Google Do, said this back in 2008, the world is moving from mass to massive niche, right? And I think it's bigger than that. I think we're actually moving from nation state back to tribal. Like if you think about it, there was kind of life before nation states. There were there were tribes, there were civilizations, and we've had this couple hundred years of sort of nation state existence, and it's always been driven by technology. Yeah, call boats technology if you want, call radio technology. Without radio, you don't have the Third Reich in the form that you had the Third Reich. Yeah. Technology is always a factor in shaping civilizations. And now the internet has driven us to a world where, democracy is fundamentally, or nation states are fundamentally geographical, but we don't live in a geographical world anymore. No. And people are downloading this podcast all over the world without any nation state boundaries. And so that's moving us into a completely like different phase of civilization. So I think we're moving to being fundamentally more tribal. And
how does that lend to the crypto world? Because here's a conversation that Anand and I always argue about. Anand believes that like every young person is all in on crypto and that's all they do all day. It's like similar to what you said, everyone isn't truly participating in it. I think there's interest across the board. I think people are generally curious. Like, how does that feel then, based by what you're saying, that crypto is going to be this massive niche for the people that understand it, and then a lot of people will probably get left behind?
That's a great question. So I think there's a whole bunch of, there's like 4 different truths in what you said. And it does, like, to me, it points at what the future is. So first of all, you're right. It's not everybody. I mentor a kid who, he wants to learn about crypto, but he doesn't know a lot about it yet. So it's not that every kid is all in, for sure. But I do think that what kids understand at this point is they understand that they're living in a world that is a meta layer above nation state. And I don't think they would ever express it that way, but they just know it by default, because they know that, when they're in a video game, they could be with people from all over the world. When they're on Instagram, they could be talking to people all over the world. When they're on TikTok, it's not, it's not like bordered by nation states. So I think that automatically like puts them at an advantage. Now, the other thing is that they also they know how to buy low and sell high, or they know a friend who does, right? Yeah. Every kid who's 20 years old, if they're not the ones, they know a kid that's made a fortune on sneakers or crypto or fill in the blank, right? Yeah. And we didn't have that when we were kids. Like that was like,
you didn't know anyone who made any money.
And we didn't know anyone who traded stocks. Like, are you kidding? But now, kids do know how to use Robinhood. So I'll share something with you that a friend of mine who's an economist said to me, offhanded comment that she made to me 3 weeks ago, that I was like, oh, wow, that framing is so clear. She said, I was in New York, the restaurants are full, offices are empty. There's more value there's more money than value in the economy right now. And I was like, okay, so inflation is real. And she's like, yep.
Yeah.
And okay, and she said, but here's the kicker. Inflation is real, and you have an entire generation of kids who know how to move to something other than the dollar.
Yeah.
Whether that is sneakers or shark bucks or shark cards in GTA, or Tesla stock or Bitcoin or Ethereum or Doge, doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
They know how to change their denomination.
Yeah.
Like if the dollar goes like this, there's a whole bunch of kids that know something that you and I didn't know when we were 21.
Yeah.
We would have had no idea. What were we going to do?
Nothing.
Buy records? Like, we were going to buy records with dollars. There was nothing for us to do. But now there's a whole bunch of people who are like, oh, I have this app and I can just, shit's going crazy. Well, I'll just swap these dollars for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Like, that's what all my friends are doing. Mm-hmm. They don't have to know much about it. It's like a different level of possibility.
Yeah.
And by the way, 100% of them have smartphones.
Yeah.
Like that's the difference between now and 1998. In 1998, the internet was this big promise. And right now, crypto is this big promise. But the difference is in 1998, not everyone had access to the internet because you had to get a computer, you had to get a modem, you had to get an ISP.
Yeah.
Right now, 100% of those people, if you're thinking about kind of like kids, at that age, have smartphones, right? And if they were like, whoa, shit's on fire. Wait, what do I have to do? I have to buy Ethereum? Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
That's what I think is the big difference. And that's where, like, you're both right. Everyone's not there today, but they do all have a different
exposure, maybe.
Yeah, they have exposure and they know somebody. I mean, I think the world that I imagine is this. Let me give you my my Ledger ad for 2022.
Yeah.
It's hey, my name's Damien. I'm 21 years old. I live in Baltimore and I don't have a bank account. I've never had a bank account and I don't think I ever will have a bank account.
Wow.
Because, my paycheck goes directly into my ledger. And that's what I have a combination of spending and saving. By the way, like, were you saving when you were 21? Like,
no.
Now that's a thing. And, my mom's getting charged $10 a month for her bank account. My crypto is making 200% a year, right? I have an NFT collection. I also have a sneaker collection, and I pay for that with my stable coin. Because when I get my paycheck, it doesn't all go into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Some of it goes into, like, my spending goes into a stable coin, and my saving goes into, my friends. I got some friends that are smart about crypto. So I have a little bit of Bitcoin, a little bit of Ethereum, a little bit of Solana, a little bit of Polkadot, whatever, like whatever my friends are doing, I'm on it. I think that's what's around the corner.
Yeah.
I think that's what's around the corner.
And so when you think about like, because I think the biggest question that we always have is like people obviously, they have FOMO, which they want to participate in this world. And, you know, when people ask us, like I feel like when I speak to people, we had Rusty the other day who's just sold his business to 100 Thieves. He's really into NFTs and the metaverse and talking about it. We sat there when he was explaining to us about buying land and Decentraland. We were like, what the fuck are you talking about, right? And I think a lot of people feel that way. I mean, basically anyone over like 25 feels that way. And I think obviously the easiest, and we've had this conversation on this podcast, was just like give yourself some exposure in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and you know at least you get to participate in some way.
Yep.
The problem now is you see like especially August and September with NFTs, those are the craziest returns we've ever seen in life. Like in my life, I've never seen returns like that. So now, you know, it's cooled down a little bit from September and the dust is settling. And people are still talking about NFTs and they want to get exposure. But like, I think we genuinely don't understand how to even consider that investment. I had these guys in the office read Bobby's from the Hundreds white paper. Yep. I was like, if you want to understand what his vision, he at least has a vision that he's articulating, whether it goes out and plays out exactly how he envisions. But at least there's a direction.
I think he has it right, personally.
Yeah.
I think that, first of all, like just if you give advice to people, I'll tell you, because I talked to my mentee yesterday, and I basically said the same thing. I was like, you know what, just get like a little bit of Bitcoin, a little bit of Ethereum. You know, he actually told me he had some money from something. Yeah. And I was like, take 5% of it. Yeah. Right. And because now you're in. Yeah. And now you're going to learn more. Yeah. You know, so I think that advice is still the right one. I think on the NFT side, speculating on NFTs is super dangerous, you know. So, but at the same time, the gains you make are real. You know, if you're buying a Toad for 0.6 ETH and selling it for 30, that Ethereum is going to be valuable. Yeah. Like I wouldn't bet on the Toad 5 years from now. But I'll bet on the Ethereum. Yeah. So if you can make the flip, all right, you know, good on you. Yeah. I just think we don't know when that drops, and I think that there's definitely bubble behavior out there for sure. You can call it. It's easy. I think then when it comes to Bobby's thing, what I love about what he's doing is that he's very clear that this is not about speculation. Yeah, he's trying to build a community of like-minded people. And he thinks that is the brand of the future. And I really agree, because I loved his white paper. I sent it to everybody. I sent it to everybody at LVMH. I'm on the board of Dr. Martens. I sent it to the board of Dr. Martens. I'm like, this is it. Because I love the way he talks about, you know, the role that technology played in his brand 20 years ago. Yeah. Blogging, et cetera. And then he asks the question like, well, why fashion? Like, what is it? We don't wear fashion to stay warm, you know? And so, you know, and then he gets to, okay, well, what role might this new thing play? And now he's building a community of people. And I think the people that like got into Flip are disappointed with ABS. But that he likes that actually, because he's like, I don't want you people in my community. That's not why we're here. He's
a long-term guy. I mean, he's been doing the same thing for 20 years, like I have. Like we have long-term visions for our ideas,
and he's giving those people real value. Yeah, he's you know, there was a meetup. Yeah. They got in early on the diamond drop. Yeah, they're going to get early on another drop. He told me about yesterday. That I don't know if I'm supposed to say. Yeah, but. Like that's a community. And what was interesting is that he said, you know, he's like, look, I've been to some NFT meetups and they're not really my people necessarily. Yeah. But he's like, and I was nervous about the Atom Bomb Squad meetup. And he's like, I couldn't believe it when I got there. They're my people. Yeah. They're the people that have been buying the hundreds for 20 years. Yeah. So when I talk to brands, when I talk to LVMH brands, and when I, you know, all brands, we've been talking to a lot of people. I say, stay away from the speculation, but do industrialize. Because
so what does that mean?
What I mean is, I think that everyone, and I'm hard pressed to think of a case where this isn't true. I think certainly for what you do, you should be giving a proof of purchase with everything you sell, and you don't know what's going to come from that. You know, I was with with John Silva, who is still the Beastie Boys manager and manages the Foo Fighters and Norah Jones and a bunch of other people. And we talked about this earlier this year. And at the end, I was like, John, we just had the same conversation we had in 1994. There's this new technology. It's going to change the way that your bands interact with their fans. How do we do something that's not lame? Because the last thing he wants to do is sell a Foo Fighters ticket for $3 million. Right?
Yeah.
So but the answer is everything you sell is collectible. And I wish I had an NFT for every concert t-shirt I've ever owned. That'd be such a cool collection.
Yeah.
I have a pair of, Golden Goose Off-White collab that was done at Colette, signed by Virgil. And since Virgil was signing mine and I'm the LVMH internet guy, he wrote free Wi-Fi on the back of them, right?
So cool.
Okay, they're in a shelf in my closet.
Yeah.
I wish I had the NFT of that though. If I had that NFT, I'd be able
share that,
I would show it off.
Yeah.
I mean, like Bobby said, why do we buy fashion? A lot of it is just identity.
Yeah.
I'm a part of that tribe. I'm not a part of that tribe. I mean, I've always said, we buy Louis Vuitton for the same reason we buy a Slayer t-shirt or a Thrasher t-shirt. Yeah. It's the same. Yeah. So that's what it's going to be with NFTs. It's not about how much is that Slayer t-shirt worth.
Yeah.
Like, in fact, if you've got a Slayer t-shirt that's worth a bunch of money, that's kind of lame.
Yeah.
It's really, I mean, I wear some high-end band t-shirts. My friends make fun of me.
Yeah.
They're like, Ian, how much you pay for that Motley Crue shirt? I'm like, man, fuck you. I can afford it.
Yeah.
But still, that's my point. Like, there are definitely certain circles where money is not cool.
Yeah.
And that's not what it's about. Yeah. But it is about the identity.
Yeah.
It's actually more about like, can you tell me the track list of that Motley Crue album is worth more?
Yeah.
Than how much is that shirt worth?
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we have to remember is that all communities are not about money.
Yeah.
A lot of it is just about identity and being tribal and being a part of this community and not that community and that. And I think that's what NFTs are going to amount to.
Yeah. And I think that's where like I struggle with, because I understand. I love the community layer and how fragmented NFTs can bring all these people, all these fragmented cultures can be brought together. And I even just look at people who bought Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? It's a cult. And
it's a cult, yeah.
And it feels like something special. If you own it, you're a part of it. And I see people, I just bought a Bored Ape Yacht Club. I just got 4,000 followers on Twitter. That's worth more to them than the fucking money they're going to make on it. The clout, right? That you're getting from just owning that piece of.
And being a part of that, like of those people that are in the know.
Yeah.
I mean, it comes back to skateboarding because it's not true anymore.
Yeah.
But when I was 16 years old, if I saw another person with a Thrasher shirt, you would go up and talk to them. Yeah. Because you're part of you're part of this really small tribe.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. I think it's in human nature to want to like both have an identity, but also be a part of a tribe.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it becomes. I also just think that, there are some stats out there that like 40% of humans collect something.
Yeah.
Whether it's like trolls or Precious Moments figurines or, it could be like coins, stamps, baseball cards. Like I think that's just a normal human thing to do. And if you think about it again, like your sneakers in your closet, that's kind of like the photos that I used to have in my apartment. Yeah. Which is really different than the photos I have on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's generational because, I look at, my daughter and I mean, she lives in a metaverse and she would never call it that, but, she talks with her friends in a group chat. She, she hangs out with her friend. Like I see her, she's like playing Minecraft and she has FaceTime up, and that's just especially after COVID. Yeah. That's just life. So, of course, we're going to have digital collectibles for our digital lives. Yeah. The business we want to get out of is the souvenir business. Yeah. Like if your business is making shot glasses to sell to Las Vegas, man, you're going to be hurting. Yeah. Because people are going to go to Las Vegas and they're going to have an NFT.
Yes.
Because they don't need another shot glass.
Exactly. And I think to that point, that's where I think people can't wrap their head around in the traditional world. That at the end of the day, the Rusty explained it really well. He's like, it's a flex. I mean, everything we buy is a flex. Everything. Like why you own an iPhone versus a Google phone. It's a flex.
It's a blue bubble versus a green bubble,
exactly. Right? And blue bubble's a flex. Yeah. And that's what it is. And so if you just simplify it to that, then like NFTs all of a sudden make a shitload of sense.
I think so. I think that as humans, it's normal. There's this great like I don't know what you call him, a punk rock poet. His name's Billy Childish, but he made like a ton of albums. But he had a book of poetry that I think was called "Poems to Break the Hearts of Impossible Princesses." Okay. Anyway, it's good. It's good. But I'll never forget the intro of it. He was like, "I don't know why I do this. I think just to prove I exist." And it like triggered something in me. We all do a lot of things to prove we existed. You know, we live in the moment, but we are story consuming creatures.
Yeah.
So what is your story? I mean, you started with my story.
Yeah.
Like that, we all have a story.
Yeah.
And so we need those like mile markers on the road because memory is fiction. So, you know, I do want to prove I went to Vegas once, you know? So what do? I do want to prove I went to the Iron Maiden concert.
That was mine as a child, was when we traveled around the world as a family. I bought the Hard Rock t-shirt in every location because I knew Hard Rock Singapore, you had to come here to get it.
You had to, exactly.
I would wear it to school and be like, yeah, I went to Singapore,
I went to
motherfuckers.
Singapore. Exactly.
Exactly. You know, London, I collected them all. And I think as that starts replicating itself throughout society, then, because I think the problem is in the NFT thing right now, it's just speculation. Well, a good majority of people are in it for speculation.
Yeah.
And it's unclear to me that like they're all as well thought out as Bobby's. It feels more like a bunch of people threw out some cats, threw out some this, and like it doesn't feel like there's any utility.
It's a gold rush.
Yeah.
It's a gold rush. I think here's what if I could predict the future. I mean, first of all, I always like this example that I use with muggles, with friends who like don't know, like they're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, look, imagine this. You walk into the Fondation Louis Vuitton or some art museum and there's a QR code and you scan the QR code, and just for scanning the QR code, you get a proof of attendance.
Yeah.
Boom. You get an NFT that says, I was at the Fondation Louis Vuitton on this date. And that's like your souvenir. I did this presentation for Ben Arnault, and I just took a photo of the Fondation Louis Vuitton gift shop. Yeah. And like, this is what it is. Yeah. Right. Now, also on that same screen where I'm getting the NFT, I could actually get a limited edition digital version of that piece of art. Maybe there's only 1,000 of them. Maybe it's $10. Maybe it's $100. I might do that. Yeah. Be like, oh wow, that's cool. Yeah. I'll take a one of 1,000. It's not that expensive. Now the next step is like, I'll buy the art in an auction. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then it's like, okay, I'm bidding on the NFT, but I'm actually, I'm actually like going to get the one of one, right? And that could go for millions. Yeah. Right? Well, to me, that all makes sense. That's all very understandable. And what you're really doing is you're taking this thing that already exists, which is maybe that painting is worth $1 million, and you're just adding a couple of layers to it. Yeah. Which is so funny to me because it's not that different than what we did back in 2008 with music. You know, when with Trent Reznor, you could get half of the album for free. You could buy the digital album for $5. You could buy the compact disc for $15. You could buy the box set for $30, or there was a limited edition box set. There were only 300 of them made, and it's $300. Yeah. Same thing, no? Yeah. Like, and it's just that, it's that way of saying like, you know, you kind of self-select into like, where are you in this? You know, like, oh, well, and I think that's why it's a gold rush right now. And I don't know. The interesting thing about it.
Do you own any NFTs?
I have a few, but I don't have any super valuable NFTs. Yeah. Like I've got stuff that means something to me. Like I've got a Winamp NFT that I paid 1.337 ETH for because 1337 is elite, which means elite hacker, which is, you know. Yeah. So to me, there's like a lot of meaning in it. Yeah. You know, but is it worth that much? I don't know. Yeah. I may have put it on the market and see what it's worth, but I won't. Yeah. And I have a couple other things that are just like, you know, things that friends did or something I liked. Yeah. But I think the interesting thing is like when you look at some of these ultra creative projects, like what Pac is doing with Lost Poets.
I'm not familiar with that.
There's on the Ledger podcast, which is called On the Ledger. We just did an episode about that project.
Okay.
It's worth listening to because Robin from the Defiant did like 3 movies about it, like literally movies, like hour and a half long, like because it's so deep.
Wow.
But we have like a 30-minute podcast with Robin where he kind of gives you the overview. If you want
we gotta check that out.
Like the Reader's Digest version of it.
Yeah.
But it's super creative. And okay, so do you know about the project called Loot?
Yes.
So I think Loot is incredible. I'm older than you. Do you remember, you ever heard of Zork?
No.
Okay, so Zork was a video game from the 80s.
Okay.
That was like all command line.
Okay.
So, you could like go left, go right.
Which is what Loot looks like.
Pick up book, read book.
Yeah.
Like, and then inventory. Like, and then you give you like, and there was it was cool actually. It was like a choose your own adventure book in a way, but in a game. To me, you go, well, I remember Zork, and now we have Grand Theft Auto. So when I look at Loot, I'm like, well, there's Zork.
Yeah.
Someone just made Zork. Holy shit. This is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Once like you have 30 years of these games and you end up with an on-chain Grand Theft Auto, like holy shit.
Yeah.
So like if you look at Loot and you're like, wait, what? If you look at it as like someone did that in a day, now imagine what happens when you spend 3 years of development and, and $40 million building that game.
Yeah.
Like that's what's coming.
Yeah.
And that's going to be really exciting. I think the interesting thing is that, like, for example, another way to look at it is pretty much anything with NFTs is actually gaming. Like, I think at the beginning, I thought it was going to be more like art. Mm-hmm. But what I realize now is that it's more like gaming.
Yeah.
So let's say that for one of your brands, you started doing NFTs with every purchase. Mm-hmm. Like, this is why I say you should do that.
Yeah.
Because something will happen if you do.
Yeah.
Either some of those will become valuable and you'll be like, whoa, that's interesting. Or what you'll do inevitably is you'll go, wow, look, some people have 100 of them. Well, what do I give those people? Okay, all the people who have 100 of my NFTs get this.
Yeah.
And what does that get you?
Yeah.
Well, that gets you a discount on this day, or that gets you early access, or that gets you into this event, or that gets you, it's just natural.
Yeah.
Or like maybe you're going to find out, you're like, damn, I'm minting 10,000 NFTs a month and sending them to my customers. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take 5 of them every month and make them golden tickets. Like these people are going to get the next year,
$1,000, whatever.
Next year's free.
Yeah.
You get everything we sell next year for free.
Yeah.
Because I did 10,000 NFTs this month and I just made 5 of them more rare.
Yeah.
Boom. That's a game though.
Yeah.
That's not art.
That's true.
That's not even a receipt. Like, what is it? Yeah. So I think that's what's exciting about it is there really is. And then I think when you go a little further, like the thing that the light bulb for me, in France, we have this like, it's called the health pass, right? And then we have to show it to go into restaurants and bars. Dude, you need one. Like, I'll just screenshot mine. I'll give it to you. Yeah. Like that's how good the technology is.
Yeah, that's right? Here too, unfortunately.
Okay. Now we live in a time when I can prove I own a CryptoPunk. Yeah. And I can send you a screenshot for your sanitary pass or your health pass. Yeah. Like, really? Yeah. Like, well, so our governments have the screenshot technology and the CryptoPunks have the unbreakable technology. Yeah. Really? Yeah. Okay, that's going to change. Yeah. Right? Like, when you think of it this way, like your driver's license is really poor technology. Mm-hmm.
And it's probably the most important thing you have on you.
That's going to get fixed. Yeah. Your driver's license will, without question, be an NFT. Yeah. Right. In the not too distant future. And that's very, very, very real. So I think that unfortunately this people making $1 million on a creature toad is a smokescreen in front of what's really coming. Yeah. Behind it. So what I've been saying to every single brand is like, look, unless you are Virgil Abloh, like stay out of the speculation side of this. Yeah. Like, cause it's only a bad story. Yeah. Right? Let's say that I'm an artist. Let's say I'm Kendrick, and it's only a bad story. Like either it doesn't sell for as much as I wanted it to, and that's a bad story, or it sells for a shit ton and it's worth less next year. Yeah. And that's a bad story. Yeah. Right. Whereas if on the other hand, you kind of build like what Bobby is building, which is a fan club, right? That's actually better than a fan club because a fan club is corny. Yeah. This is like has actual value. Yeah. Right. It's not the Kiss Army, which I was in when I was a kid. That's exciting. So I think that that's where this goes. And I think ultimately it's everything. It's like, I don't know if you ever listened to Raoul Paul, who does Real Vision.
Yeah.
He said it great. He was on, he did an interview with the Defiant. And the Defiant is a DeFi podcast. And they were like, do you think NFTs are bigger than DeFi? And he was like, 1,000%. And they're like, really? And he said, listen, DeFi disrupts one industry, banking.
Yeah.
NFTs disrupt every industry.
Wow.
Period. And I think that's true. I really think that's true. I think that, again, if you think that your health records will ultimately be, and I think the problem is that when people think NFT, they think of a CryptoPunk. But an NFT is just a one of one. That's really all it is. Yeah. Your driver's license is a one of one. Your healthcare records are a one of one, right? Like your mortgage is a one of one.
Yeah.
So all of that is going to be on chain in the future without question. And so if you think of it in that way, it's like, okay, let's build around this. Like what's the thing that we could do today? And the thing that you could do today with your brands is give an NFT with everything sold.
Yeah.
It's just like buying a little bit of Bitcoin, a little bit of Ethereum. Now you're in the game.
Yeah.
And now you're like,
you can figure it out.
Oh my God, there are a lot of.
So from a business side, because we have a lot of business owners here, I've been wanting to do that. I don't even know how to execute that.
Well, it's actually the technology is pretty poor still.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still trying to figure that out with Ledger.
Yeah.
Because and we will do it soon, but it won't be bulletproof. And that's the thing I worry about. Because I want to do this with a lot of the brands that I work with. And the problem is that you'll have some people who are in the know and they know how to kind of like redeem that coupon. And then you'll have a bunch of people that are just like, I don't care. And unfortunately, that's kind of like the name of the game at the moment. There's the information asymmetry, But I'd be happy to help figure it out. And maybe we should do is like, we should just do it.
Yeah.
And we tell people how we did it.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful because, honestly, I want to do it for group chat because we have that community.
Totally.
We have such a, just a awesome fan base who wants to learn and they want access and they want to unlock different value propositions.
I want a group chat NFT in my wallet. I want to show that I'm part of that I'm in the know.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so let's do it.
Yeah.
Why don't we just do it and then it'll be transparent?
Yeah.
Exactly. We're like, okay, here's how we did it. I mean, we've been through this year where we were like, working on the tattoo project with Scott Campbell, where we started out with one solution and then we bailed at the last minute because we were like, oh, there's things about this that we don't like that we didn't know going in. And we're doing the same thing now where there are some good technologies that we're using. We like this one called POAP, P-O-A-P, Proof of Attendance Protocol. So we're using that. There's a really cool company in Vancouver called Manifold. I think they're going to do really cool stuff with brands. They're the ones that did like the Jay-Z NFT. There's another one that I feel bad right now because I'm forgetting what they're called that we like. I feel bad because I'd love to prop them right now, but I'm not thinking of their name. But that's what we can do is we just pick the right one for group chat.
Yeah.
And we'll experiment with it.
Yeah.
We'll do it. Like for example, POAP would be really easy. We just had like a company offsite and that's how we did it. Like everyone who was there got their proof of attendance.
Yeah.
There were only 40 of us.
Yeah.
But you got I was at the Ledger,
that's awesome.
2021 offsite.
Yeah.
And it's super easy. You just like connect your wallet, you hit redeem, boom, it comes in. And then you got to do like, oh, well, what happens if someone doesn't redeem, et cetera.
And so where do you think, so the other thing that's interesting that we should also do similar to the NFT is I've gotten a lot of DMs of people that have purchased Ledger because of the podcast and they want us to do go on Twitch live and buy Ethereum, convert it to Ledger and just make it very clear because I think people are just afraid that they do it wrong or I would say, look, you have to remember, like we're still in the 56K modem days of crypto. So there's and my title is Chief Experience Officer because we have to bring the experience. Yeah.
And like Tony Fadell said to me when I took this job, he was like, there's no B2C business in crypto. It's B2G, business to geek.
Yeah.
And what I keep saying is we're not yet at that phase where you're selling an iPod at Target.
Yeah.
We're still in the phase where you're selling a graphics card at Fry's, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that makes sense. Like it's sort of like doing the video where it's like, okay, I know we all want to play Quake, so we need a new graphics card.
Yeah.
So here's how you're going to open your computer. And don't worry, it's not scary. We're going to put the graphics card in the computer. We do have to do that. So it's like, I would love to do that.
Yeah.
There was a conversation I had with Bobby yesterday too.
Yeah.
The thing I like about it is, the other crazy thing is, well, so just a little bit about security. If you are not using a hardware wallet, you are probably at risk, and you're at some varying level of risk. I sat next to a guy at dinner on Monday night. I definitely won't say who it was because I'll tell you why. He has 2 CryptoPunks. They're both just like in a software wallet on his phone.
Oh shit!
And I was like, they're worth a couple $1 million. These 2 things. And I was like, okay. He's like, yeah, you got to help me set up the ledger. He's like, I got the ledger, and I even started to set it up. But the 24 words, I just got confused. I got scared. I was like, okay, so where are they? He's like, they're just on my phone. I'm like, okay, I think they're in MetaMask on his phone. I'm like, I said, okay, where did you put the seed phrase, the recovery phrase? He's like, well, I took a screenshot.
Oh my God.
I was like, okay, so it's in your photos, which means it's in your iCloud. I was like, okay, I have one more question for you. Do you use the same password all over the place? And he's like, of course. He's being honest with me because he's a friend. And he knows I'm not going to go jack him. I was like, I think I could get him in probably about 5 minutes. I was like, here's what I would do. I would go to haveibeenpwned.com and I would put your email address in. And then I would see what other hacks you've been snagged in. And I'm going to assume you haven't changed your password since then because you didn't know. And then I'm going to go to iCloud. I'm going to put your email address and that password in. And I'm going to get into your iCloud on iCloud.com. And then I'm going to go to Photos. And Photos is really nice because I don't even have to scroll through your photos. There's a folder called Screenshots.
Oh my God.
And I'm just going to go straight into that Screenshots folder. There's going to be relatively few in there. And I'm going to find the screenshot of your 24 words. I'm going to go back to MetaMask. I'm going to recover a wallet, put in those 24 words. Boom, $2 million. I got you. And he's like, okay. He's like, please don't do that. I was like, just call me, man. I'll help you set up your ledger. So yes, we have to help your people set up a ledger. Yeah. We're actually going to start doing this. We're going to start doing 2 live streams a day on ledger.com.
Okay, great.
One of them is like, why ledger?
Yeah.
And the other one is like, hey, let us help you set up. Okay. And there'll be live streams and where you can ask questions live and just hopefully people feel comfortable and it's interactive because it's like the biggest issue right now.
Yeah.
And we have, and by the way, we need to make things easier. I think once you get through the 24 words in the setup, Ledger is actually pretty easy to use. But that step, to be honest, if it doesn't scare you a little bit, then you don't understand it.
Yeah.
Right? Because where should I put these 24 words should freak you out.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is like we've had problems with our integration with MetaMask since July. They MetaMask was using an old way of communicating with hardware wallets, not just Ledger, and then Chrome just like shut that feature off in July.
Wow!
And it still works, but it's kind of through a back door, and you have to know what you're doing, and it has to work, which doesn't work all the time. That's going to be fixed like within the next week. So like these things, like we're chipping away at it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like, it's going to get easier and easier and easier and easier. But also, look, even a lot of credit card companies will still deny your charge if you're trying to buy crypto, even through like a totally reputable, exchange. Yeah. It's just like there's this gap between the world of banking and the world of crypto. There is a lot of, people who would love to like steal your credit card and buy some crypto. That'd be a good move.
Yeah.
So I understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to do that. I'd love to do just like we could do something and like leave it up, or we could do something regularly.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. I think even, transferring crypto, transferring your NFT, it's all totally different, experiences because some people are focusing on crypto, some people are focusing on NFTs, and it's just,
Yeah. Well, and what's crazy is you've got somewhere between $1 billion and $2 billion in transaction value on OpenSea every month. To this day, no one has ever traded securely on OpenSea. It's never happened because it's always either software wallet, which is inherently insecure, or a software wallet connected to a hardware wallet, but blind signing. And what that means is, if you've ever done it, then you know, when you sign a transaction, like if you do it with Ledger Live, you see, I am sending 0.1 Bitcoin to this address. The cost of sending it is this. It's like, we call it what you see is what you sign. When you're doing that with kind of Web3, so you're connected to a website, what you're doing is you're signing a smart contract, but the device doesn't know what the contract says. So it just shows a bunch of hexadecimal characters.
Oh, shit.
And that's what we call blind signing.
Yeah.
So you're like, well, MetaMask is saying this.
Yeah, I've had to deal with it. That's the most nerve-wracking thing every time you do it.
And if you look at how people are getting hacked, it's because they don't know what they're signing.
Yeah.
And they think they're signing one thing, but it's not.
Yeah.
So that's the only way it works. For us, this is why we want to get OpenSea into Ledger Live, get an OpenSea plugin on the Ledger Nano.
Oh, yeah.
And now you'll be able to see, I am sending, one POC page for 1.2 ETH. Gas fees are X. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
Yeah.
That's all you want. You
just clear transparency. Yeah.
Yeah. You want hardware security and clear signing.
Yeah.
It's actually not, but it's just not possible with a web browser.
Yeah.
This is like the fundamental thing too, is that we have Web 2 hardware, but we have Web 3 value.
Yeah.
Like that's just it. We're just at that point where we're not.
Yeah, and it'll shift. Yeah.
It will get there, you know? And there's, as you know, in every industrial transformation, there's an unbundling and a rebundling. And the unbundling is your Web 2 hardware plus your Web 3 hardware. So your iPhone plus your Ledger Nano. And then ultimately, someday we'll have the Ledger phone and it'll replace your iPhone, and, that'll be Web 3 hardware. But
wow.
But that's
I like that.
That's a ways away.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for coming. I guess the next time we'll see you live will probably be hopefully Paris Fashion Week in January.
Yeah, well, I'll be back for Christmas.
Oh, you will? Okay, great.
Yeah. And so if you want me then, I'm here. But Paris Fashion Week in January would be great.
Yeah, I was
we go back to Le Petit Celestin.
Yeah, I'm down.
Or trying to think actually I have a great spot for you.
Okay.
So there's that restaurant Verjus, and they have another one called Ellsworth.
Okay.
And they're like two of the best restaurants in Paris, but they haven't been open since the lockdown.
Wow.
So the couple that owns it started a new place called, I think it's 22 Club is what they call it. And I think they do have a website, but it's a private room. There's only 2 tables. There's a table for 6 and a table for 14.
Wow.
We just did a dinner there on Monday night. I won't say with who, because then I blast the CryptoPunk guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had a dinner there on Monday night. That's the second one we've had there, and it's awesome.
Okay.
But yeah, we should do a dinner there.
Yeah.
Again, you have 2 choices: 6 people or 14 people or 20. 3 choices, I guess.
We're probably 20 type people.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Like, you should have seen people on Monday night. They were like, wait, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, where did you bring us? It's that place.
Oh,
so you definitely want that for Paris Fashion Week.
Yeah.
Tell me the dates and we'll
lock it down.
Yeah,
That's great. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. And I guess we should have you back on in a few weeks, but you'll probably be in Paris then.
Cool.
All right. Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.